Muscle cars enjoyed a nice little era of sky-high popularity in the 1960s. Although it ended in the 1970s, classic muscle cars have still remained a popular category all these years later. In the late 60s and early 70s, car manufacturers had a ton of leeway to build the wildest muscle cars they could think of, and as a result, we got some of the most powerful muscle cars in the 20th century at that time. So, let's look at the 10 cars that proved the 70s was the best era for American muscle. The Firebird needs no introduction to gearheads. Even non-gearheads will identify this one as the one we saw in Smokey and the Bandit. The Firebird Trans Am has been around since 1969, but it was in the 1970s and 80s when it really got popular in the country. Also, that screaming chicken hood is just as iconic as well. The 1970-1981 second-generation Firebird Trans Am featured a more captivating look, and the most powerful engine available was the 6.6-liter V8. It made 200 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. The Firebird Trans Am was more popular for its iconic style rather than just performance, and is the best muscle car of the Malaise era. Although Buick has had a good reputation when it comes to classic muscle cars, its name doesn't come up as often as Dodge, Chevrolet, Ford, or Pontiac. But muscle car enthusiasts will never forget the beast that is the Skylark GSX-X Stage 1. One of the main features that these classic muscle cars had to have was acceleration. The Buick Skylark GS was a great car in and of itself, but the GSX Stage 1 upped the ante with an impressive 0-60 time of just 5.1 seconds. Undoubtedly, acceleration is the GSX Stage 1's best feature, as it was one of the fastest accelerating cars when it came out. Also, the GSX Stage 1 came as a bit of a surprise, unlike the Charger or GTO, but a welcome one for sure. There had to be a Mustang in a classic muscle cars list, simply because there have been so many great Mustangs over time. The average 1970 Ford Mustang Boss 429 costs around $288,329, and that price reflects the iconic status of this muscle car quite well. This muscle car came in at a stylish fastback version. We all know that performance plays a big role in a muscle car's success, and this car is among the best of the bunch in that era. It came in with a 429 cubic inch V8 that made 375 horsepower in its stock version, but it could handle a couple of hundred HP more through a few modifications, and Ford used the engine in a NASCAR. The GTX, while not as costly as the Mustang we saw, can still turn people's heads around for a further glance, and give the Boss 429 a run for its money on the drag race. Plymouth removed the convertible option for the 1970 and 71 models, but it did give the muscle car a more aggressive a design. The 440 6-pack is one of its more well-known trims, which came with a 7.2-liter V8 that got fuel from 3 two-barrel carburetors. This muscle car 6-pack made 390 horsepower, however Plymouth developed the GTX as a gentleman's muscle car, so it chewed through Camaros and Mustangs with poise and elegance. The Oldsmobile 442 W30 is one of the most important and iconic muscle cars that helped make a name for the brand. And from the 442 models out there, this car is one of the most powerful, and hence iconic. Oldsmobile has nailed the looks for the 442 long before the 1970 iteration. They just had to freshen it up a bit. Performance-wise, this muscle car came with a 455 cubic inch V8 engine that made 370 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. These numbers are already impressive even for today, let alone 5 decades ago. Oldsmobile may have not been able to replicate the success and popularity it once had, and may be gone, but its legacy will easily carry on for ages with some of its cars. The Pontiac GTO is easily one of the most legendary muscle cars of all time. After all, the 1964 GTO is the one that started it all. A few years later, the 1970 Pontiac GTO Judge came and became a formidable muscle car that had it all. Looks? Check. Power? Oh yeah. Value for its money? More than they knew. The GTO Judge, in its convertible form, can fetch a 7-digit price and find a new owner in a heartbeat. Only a few hundred of these ever existed, so they make great collectibles. Today, whether it's car renders, rest mods, auctions, expo displays, or even drag races, you can safely assume that a GTO will be there and steal the show. The Dodge Charger Daytona may have arrived at the scene first, but the Superbird is not redundant by any means whatsoever. The two Mopar winged muscle cars may look the same, but gearheads know that they are indeed different. The Superbird looked more sporty with a seamless fender as well as stylish with a vinyl roof. The Superbird also came with a 6-pack intake system. The Plymouth Superbird along with the Charger Daytona were homologation models to legalize the cars in NASCAR, so it was fast from the get-go. The funny thing is, people didn't really like the way these cars looked, but now we consider them one of the best looking, especially the Superbird in its iconic Richard Petty livery. Two words: Dominic Toretto. For the younger generation and some more experienced folks as well, this name is now synonymous with the Dodge Charger, specifically the 1970 Dodge Charger RT. Not only that, but over the years, the Charger appeared in a lot of other movies as well. It was already a fan favorite due to its style and performance, but these movie appearances made it a favorite for many people who are not gearheads. The all-black paint job looks phenomenal on it, and both the 440 Magnum and the 426 Hemi V8s are some beastly motors to have under the hood, giving it a good drag racing pedigree in the process. As far as performance goes, few cars can compete head-to-head with the Hemi Cuda. The classic muscle car wandered around the 250-350 horsepower area for a while, but the 1970s saw it level up to 425 horsepower through that 426 Hemi V8 motor, finding itself nice and comfortable under the hood. The 1970 Hemi Cuda could race to the quarter-mile mark in just around 13 seconds, and we're talking about the early 1970s here. As far as its caliber goes, this car has all the ingredients to become a revered and legendary classic muscle car: a powerful engine, ageless looks, and high collectible value. This should come as no surprise to anyone at this point. Like the Charger, the Chevelle SS also became a bit of a star in Hollywood. However, it didn't always end well for the particular Chevelles used in filming. Nevertheless, the Chevelle SS has always been a megastar in the automobile industry. During the muscle car power wars, GM made the Chevelle SS as the ultimate weapon that would annihilate the competition with its mighty 7.4-liter V8 that turned an already good-looking muscle car into one of the most powerful classic muscle cars of all time.